which is why it's, I'm because it gets to the conversation about strategy versus tactics, which to me is one of the most important conversations there can be in business. And most businesses, the reactivity means just tactics. That's all you've got is a
Right.
bunch of tactics versus an overall strategy. And 1 hour invested in strategy saves you 10 hours on the tactical side, ultimately. And also, yeah, improves your self-esteem. You feel better about yourself because you're not fucking up so much. Um, so it's, yeah, it's helpful on a lot of levels. Um, yeah,
And so many people want to lead with tactics. Tactics are flashy. Like so many people come to me, they know I do social media and they're like, I need to be on Instagram. And I'm like, well, do you?
right,
Like, where does Instagram fit in the big, what are you trying to accomplish? Are your clients even on Instagram? Like,
right.
the, tactics are, or, back when I did grassroots organizing, people would be like, we need to do a march. And I'm like, well, we're trying to get this senator to make this decision. So what's important to him? It seems like the money that he's making from these lobbyists are important to him. So why don't we get to them? Like, what's the march going to do? But that's how most of us are trained to think. We're like, we see this big flashy thing. That's what's going to
Yeah,
build awareness.
you're singing my song. Yeah, I mean, if we look at it in terms of activism, well, activism is tactics. Activism is often reactivity. That's the march with it's the old joke: how many anarchists does it take to change a light bulb? None.
Yeah.
Anarchists can't change anything. Um, I kid that joke. But that's the same march with the same people. They forgot the megaphone again. That's the reactivity. And organizing, community organizing is strategy. That's where you say, what's the bill we want passed? Who's the person who's going to sign that? And then
And what matters to them? And
and
how do we get at what matters to them?
what communities care about this issue and how can we bring them together so that on the day we can show up to City Hall or the legislature with, 500 or 1,000 people and sit down with them and say, so we'd like to help you get reelected. You know, would you like
Right.
that? Do you
Exactly.
want to be back?
Would you like that?
That's strategy, and that
Yeah.
works. But the tactics, the reactivity. I mean, gosh, because I did the anarchist anti-globalization protests, and um, they're a good start, but they're a really weak finish. Uh,
Yeah.
it's the jab, but it's not the right hook.
Yes.
And just to say, when I look at business model, there's four keys to me to a good business model that ties into this. The first is you've got to make a business model that's safe for people to approach. People need to be able to check you out from a distance before they talk to you, which is of course what social media is great for. Number two, it's got to be sustainable. I mean, it's got to sustain you. It's got to pay the bills. It's got to put food on the table. If you like to pay rent, then that's helpful. So it's got to be sustainable for you. Number three, it's got to be satisfying for you, meaning at a lifestyle level, you actually enjoy the business. And fourth, it has to be simple. And that's the thing I wanted to come to. It's got to be simple
Mm.
because if you're changing your niche all the time, you're changing your business model, you're trying to launch new things all the time, and you try to come up with a plan for all of that,
Mm.
that will burn you out too. Because to create a proper plan for a launch of something is a beast. It's worth it, but it's a lot of work. And then if next year, oh, I'm launching a new thing. Oh, then I started a new business, and you're always sitting down. It's like when an airplane's taking off, 90% of the fuel is the takeoff. Once it's in the jet stream, um, it's smooth sailing, very little fuel used. Most of it's there. So if you're always restarting, versus you say,
Right.
okay, I've got a simple business model. So for me at this point, it's gotten real simple. I've got basically everything directs people to the membership. And then 4 times a year, I've got these 30-day programs, which I don't promote that heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I send out a few emails, two or three emails about each one, very short emails. I don't do a whole campaign, and that's it. And
Yeah.
there's teleseminars, but I've simplified my business model a lot. So there's that.
But you've been able to, because over time there is word of mouth and
Yeah.
things. It's that you've gotten the plane, you've spent 90% of your fuel getting the plane off the ground, and now it's in the air, and you can do less at that point when you put the time in
Well,
the
although
beginning, get
I'm
it set up.
I'm kind of in another launch phase a bit because now, I mean, even though the business model is simple, I've got this starter kit, the footage of my
Mm.
workshop, and I'm selling that. But now there's a whole other plan. So the business model is basically people do the starter kit. Um, from there, well, it's like they watch the free stuff, like free YouTube's, free Instagram stuff, then the starter kit, then the membership. That's the hopeful progression. Now they might do a 30-day thing or something. But so now this is the next lift is going to be traffic building up the email list via the starter kit, um, which is not something I've just never focused on it. I've never really
Hmm.
tried to grow my email list. So over the next few years, I will. So that's I'm sort of back in this. Okay, another takeoff.